Hello everyone, I hope you guys are doing well and your studies are going in full swing. So just about 100 days remaining for your CA Inter and CA Final Jan 26 exams. Now at this point, a lot of you would be on the verge of completing your classes or maybe starting and doing your revisions. So at this point, one thing that a lot of students complain is, well, we don't remember what was done in our lectures which we watched earlier. Well, if we don't remember that, how will we remember what we are doing now before your exams? So in today's video, we are going to give you certain important things that you should ensure that you do in these last 100 days so that you ensure that you get that recollection in a very focused and in an efficient manner. But before that, it's very important to kind of give you this thing that it is absolutely normal for you to not retain stuff that you have done earlier. I mean, this has happened to everyone who gave the exams before you, happened to us, happened to everyone, and this is absolutely normal. Now in usual terms, what happens is you kind of study, you do your intermediate classes, you do your foundation classes, and then the exam comes up fairly quickly. However, at least for CA Final, well, you have taken your classes, you have done your articleship, and then a few months or years later does your exam pop up, and hence it is absolutely normal for you to not recollect everything in a way that you write the exam. But trust me, it is all there, just that you are not in a way as polished to write for the exam. So don't be too hard on yourself if you don't remember stuff. Having said that, now the time that you have is your power play overs, where you are going to hit the nail in the right place to ensure that you kind of retain stuff for that last one and a half day. So how do we do that? First of all, well, while we are revising our concepts, we don't remember a lot of concepts. So the best way I would suggest is you try to watch, at least for the bigger topics, like let's say in FR your financial instruments, in your AFM derivatives, in your intermediate accounts consolidation. For these bigger topics, you try to watch the revision videos quickly, at least so that you are brushed up and on speed with the concepts, and then start. So that will give you a very good starting point in terms of your concepts. So you are in a relatively good starting point. Secondly, while you are revising the concepts, ensure that you kind of mark out stuff properly. This second revision that you do, marking out stuff properly is of utmost importance. So if there is something where there are certain points that you are tending to forget when you're doing the sums, highlight it with a unique color highlighter. Like for example, if you're constantly forgetting to probably do a time value adjustment in, let us say, a particular item, you kind of highlight that. You're taking the wrong year or the wrong rate, you highlight that. So you have a good recall when you do the subsequent revisions, and use a distinctive color highlighter. Otherwise, what students do is they highlight the entire book. Well, you do that, you underline it, but you use a distinctive color highlighter for topics which you clearly fumbled upon in your earlier revision, so that you can focus upon that in the subsequent ones. Further, for topics like audit especially, where recollection is a big problem, I would strongly recommend dedicating probably an hour or an hour and a half on a daily basis to kind of touch upon these, so that you are always in touch with them and you don't really feel kind of disconnected. Even for topics like FR, which are exceedingly big. Now, if you look at FR, it's a huge thing, in which case the smaller indices, like you can have the one on investment property, you can have intangibles, you can have related parties. You quickly watch the revision videos. Maybe, I mean, if you're taking a break, I know that you have better people to watch. While you are kind of taking the break, you have a lot of entertainment mediums, but you look at your professors for around a quick 15, 20, 30-minute video, and those concepts are there with you. So when you are sitting to revise for FR, the bigger topics like the business combination, the consolidations, amalgamations, all of these will take up a clean, uninterrupted time, and the smaller topics, they give you a good cushion and buffer. Because I will not tell you that every day one hour refer consolidation does not happen that way. It happens in an uninterrupted manner. But the smaller topics, you can easily pull it off like that, and hence try to utilize your so-called break or rewind, your downtime in quickly watching revision videos and kind of staying in touch with the particular subject, especially for audit and especially for the bigger subjects like FR. Even for DT, you will have certain smaller topics which you can quickly stay in touch with, so that when you're doing the proper revision, these topics give you the cushion and you can work on the bigger topics in an uninterrupted way. Secondly, when you're looking at the questions, a common doubt is, should we refer all questions or should we refer the important ones? Now, in my understanding, when you're doing your earlier revision, try to refer everything and kind of cut out topics which you think which are not your last day revision topics. If you find something which is important in a particular area, again use a highlighter, especially for subjects like AFM. FR is much bigger, but FR has a good 5-6 days before your exam which you can dedicate and you can complete the entire course. But AFM will have 1.5 days, for example, and hence to look at sums, there will be, let's say, if a topic has 50 sums, there will be around 25 odd sums, 50% I would say, that you can refer on the last day. For another 25 sums, maybe there would be around 10 to 15 of them which are very basic, which you can easily cancel. And another 10 to 15 sums, there will be one adjustment which is different. So you can highlight that adjustment with a particular color highlighter and the impact in the solution with that same highlighter, so that you don't have to read the entire question and scan through the entire solution. You just go on into the relevant parts. That kind of helps your photographic memory as well as ensures that you are focusing on the right parts before your exam. Again, if you're running out of time, you can just focus on the LDR questions. That's absolutely fine. I've shared the LDR questions list on the Telegram channel. You can refer the one for the earlier attempt as well. We'll share separately for the upcoming attempt, but by and large it remains the same. So you can safely take the earlier attempt LDR or important questions as well. So just focus on those questions properly. In every subject or chapter, ensure that in one chapter at least you do 2 or 3 questions in a proper format, pen and paper. Other questions you can just scribble around, at least in the numerical part, and not just read. Even if scribbling rough calculations, that's absolutely fine, as long as you're doing 2 to 3 questions from every chapter on pen and paper, so that you are even clear on the presentation areas. So in terms of the questions, I would say you focus on the LDR questions as well as ensure that you do the proper markings for the other questions, where you focus only on the new adjustments or the different adjustments where you kind of fumbled. Now the next question is coming to mock tests. Now a lot of students want to write a lot of mock tests, and the more you write, the better it is. But as a bare minimum, I would say that you ensure that after your second revision, you write one full portion test, especially for topics like FR and AFM, where planning your time is also as important as knowing the entire course, because FR paper does not get over. So you plan your time properly. After first revision, it is usually a little dilly-dicey to write, because you have just revised it once. You are not in that frame of mind to write a full test. But after your second revision, you are broadly in a decent shape to kind of write the paper, simulate the exam situation of around 3 hours. And in terms of the test, I would strongly recommend that you write the recent, so like if you are giving the Jan exams, write the September 25 paper. I mean, that almost certainly would not have been covered by your professors, because otherwise the older PYQs, past year questions, might have been covered. So you might as well write the recent exam paper, so that you know mock test papers, MTBs, are typically a lot more easier than the main exam papers are. So might as well write the exam paper, see your time yourself, simulate the situation, and use the learnings that you have developed. Even while you are solving and studying, ensure that you keep a small note or a small book, where if you are making a consistent mistake in a particular calculation or working, you write that down, so that you kind of remember it and ensure that you don't make a mistake. And all this while, the X factor for you will be your mental strength. So over here, there will be a lot of instances over these last few days where you will have self-doubt. You will say that, well, I don't remember stuff. How will I manage? Is this course too much for me? Trust me, everyone who has walked this road has gone through this. And in your exams, you don't need to score 100 on 100. That does not mean that we give our best shot. We will give our best shot, but there will be certain areas where you still have this margin of error. You still have a lot of questions that you see are going to come directly from the material. There may be 1 or 2 novel questions, but as long as you are comfortable with your core material, that should not be a problem. Now, what you are studying, I would recommend that if you are doing from a particular material, you stick to that. I mean, depending on the coverage that you have, if you want to refer the institute material, you can. But at least if I say for FR and AFM, I mean, if you have our volumes, you can safely stick to them. That is sufficient from your exam perspective. But nevertheless, you can see the glance through the institute material if you think. that is relevant. RTPs, the last 2 to 3 RTPs, if you do, that is sufficient. MTPs only if the new questions are there you can touch upon. For RTPs as well, for every RTP we will have a video. Even the next RTP that will come, we'll put a video for that, for the different questions, and you can refer that. Don't run behind how many past year questions, how many RTPs, etc. Focus on the last 2 to 3, the material that you have, focus on that. If you jump around different material, you don't recollect stuff. You have photographic memory if you kind of go through the same material more often rather than doing 10 books one time. Do one book, I mean 10 times is way too much, rather than doing 3 books one time. You do one book 3 times, that is generally a lot more productive as a strategy. Okay, so just kind of give your best shot, use this time productively. Try to study as many hours as possible, but don't just run behind a numerical target that I have to do X hours. What you do in those hours is also important, and slowly treat it like a marathon. Don't just say that I want to have unrealistic targets. Slowly go through it. One day at a time, you're closer and closer to your goal. I'm sure you're going to do really well, but stick on, hang on, and keep on studying. I'll see you with more videos. Till then, put your head down and ensure that you study and give your best shot. Okay, goodbye, lots of love, and good luck.